So we will be doing the Chapter 3 test review for Math 1. Just use this if you need help with any of the problems that will be on your test. So the first problem is number 1. Our review target is that you can write equations of a line from a graph or a table that will not include the y-intercept. So it says, number 1, choose one of the following A or B to complete. I will only grade one of them, so make sure you indicate which one. So A says write the equation representing the graph below. So the first thing you need to do is find slope. So number 1, we need to find our slope. So there are not any marks on this graph, but there is a slope triangle, and we have 2 points, and we know how to find the slope between 2 points. We have our change in our y over our change in our x value. So I'm going to rewrite the points stacked on top of each other. So I have 4, 6, and 1, 0. So we have our x column and our y column. So first I'm going to find the change in y because that one needs to go on top. So the change in y is going to be that column right there. So we went down 6. So change in y is down 6. Now our change in x is this column. And for the change in x, we are going to go from 4 down to 1, so that's -3. So we have the change in y of -6 over -3, which then simplifies to a +2. So our slope, or our m value, is equal to +2. So now we need to figure out what our y value is. It's not on there. We could work backwards from a given ordered pair, or we could use our equation to help us. So I'm going to do this by using the equation. So what we know is we know y equals 2x plus b. Right now, b is our big question mark. We don't know what b is. So I'm actually going to use one of the points from the graph and plug it in. So I'm going to use the point 1, 0, and I'm going to plug in for x and y. So y is equal to 0, 2 times 1 plus b, and then I'm going to solve. So I know b is now equal to -2. I know my slope, which is my m value, so I'm going to put my m and my b into an equation for this line. Y equals 2x minus 2. So this is A. Now B is a little bit different. B, we are given a table, but we're still going to go through the same process. We're going to find the slope, and then we're going to go find our B value. So for slope in a table, we're still looking at the change in the y and the change in x. So first, we're going to look at the x values, and we're looking at the table starting at the left, going to the right. So if we start at the left and go to the right, each time our x value is going up by 1. So change in x is 1. Our change in y, so from left to right, what is our change in y? Well, we are adding 2.5 every time. So 2.5 is our change in y. So we could just write our slope as 2.5. This is our m value. So we have an m of 2.5. Use the same process. We have to go find our b value, but we have to start with the equation, what we know. Again, b is our unknown, so I'm going to choose any point from the table, and I'm going to plug in for x and y, and I'm going to solve for my b value. So now we're just going to solve for b. Now I have my m value, I have my b value, I can finally write the equation. All right, on to problem 2. So we can algebraically determine the equation of a line from a slope and a point. So for number 2, it says, write the equation of a line that has a slope of -4 and goes through the point -20, 89. All right, so we got to start with what we know. We know m is equal to -4. We know we have an ordered pair of -20 and 89. So these are our x value and our y value. We know the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b. So I'm just going to plug in, just like what we did up above in problem 1. So 89 equals -4 times -20 plus b. 89 is equal to 80 plus b. Subtract 80. B equals 9. All right, we're done. We have our slope, -4. We have our b value, which is +9. Just have to put it back into an equation. So y equals -4x plus 9. And we are done. Problem number 3. So very similar to what we've been doing. This time, we're given 2 points. So our target is I can algebraically determine the equation of a line from 2 points. So given the following 2 points, 4, 9 and 12, 6, we need to A, find the slope, B, calculate the y-intercept, and then C, write the equation that is going to pass through these 2 points. So it's very straightforward. It's written out for you. So first thing we're going to go do is find the slope. All right, slope is change in y over change in x. So if I rewrite 4, 9 and 12, 7. If we look at our x's, how do I go from 4 to 12? Oh, well, we're adding 8. So our change in x is 8. Now, how do we go from 9 to 7? So we're decreasing this time. So in this case, we go down 2. So that's a -2. So we have a slope of -2 over 8, but that can be simplified. All right? So 2 goes into both of these. So we actually have -1/4. All right, we can check slope off of our list. Now we're going to find the y-intercept. This is the same process as before. I'm going to use 1 point, and I'm going to use my slope, and I'm going to solve for the b value. Therefore, we have b equals 10. We have a slope of -1/4, a b value or a y-intercept of +10. Now we write our equation out. So don't forget to put the x next to our 1/4. That's a very common mistake. We have to have an x and a y to write an equation. All right, on to number 4. So we have to perform operations with rational numbers. So here we have 2 mixed numbers. Both of them are negative. So I'm going to rewrite them as an addition problem. So -10 and 7/10 plus -2 3/5. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get common denominators. So I know that 3/5 is equal to 6/10. So I'm going to replace my 3/5 with 6/10. Alright, so if these are both negative numbers, we're getting even more negative. So we're not getting closer to a positive number, we're working our way further from a positive number. So what I like to do is turn my fraction, or my mixed numbers, into improper fractions. So to do that, we take our denominator, multiply it by the number out front, so 10 times 10, and then add our numerator. So 107/10, and it's still negative, plus -10 times 2, which is 20, plus 6, so 26/10. All right, now it's much easier to work with. We have common denominators. I can add the two negative numbers together. So we have to do -107 plus -26, and we get -133/10. So we need to divide that back out. All right, 10 goes into -133 -13 times, with 3 left over out of 10. So my final answer is -13 3/10. Some people like to convert these numbers to decimals, do their work, and then convert it back into a fraction, and that works just as well. Next problem is learning target number 1. It says, I can calculate the area of a rectangle or triangle on a coordinate grid. So we need to calculate the area of the triangle on the graph below. Well, area of a triangle is equal to base times the height divided by 2. And we know that because I could create a rectangle out of this triangle, and we would do length times width, or the base times the height of this rectangle. And a triangle, the one that we're looking at, is exactly half of that rectangle. So that's how I memorized the formula. So now if we take a look, my base is 4, and my height is 8. So I have 4 times 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 32 divided by 2, which gives me 16. So my area is 16 units squared. So we're using units squared because we're talking about an area. So if we just put units, that would have been incorrect. All right, learning target number 2. I can identify rotated, reflected, and translated polygons. So I'm just going to draw a line to match up the following. The easiest for me is a reflection. It looks like a mirror image. Then we have a translation where it just slides around. And last but not least, we have a rotation, which it kind of looks like it's turned. So the one that looks most turned to me is the middle picture. All right, learning target 3. I can rewrite expressions by multiplying binomials and polynomials and use the distributive property. So we have 3 parts. So 5 says, using the generic rectangle below, write the area as a product, which is length times width. Write the area as a sum, so we add all the parts. And last but not least, my question is the area as a product equal to the area as a sum? So let's start off with length times width. We have our length right here of the rectangle and our width across the top. So I'm just going to write that as a multiplication problem. X plus 1 times 3x minus 7. And that's it. That is length times width. It's written as a product. Next, we need the sum. So we need to fill in all those little boxes in our generic rectangle below. So we have 3x times x, which gives me 3x squared, Then I have x times negative 7, which gives me negative 7x. 3x times 1, which is still 3x. And negative 7 times 1, which is still negative 7. So now the sum is when we add all these parts together. 3x squared minus 7x plus 3x minus 7. So now we can start combining like terms. 3x squared minus 4x, minus 4x minus 7. So that's our sum. I'm just going to go write that on the line for answer B. 3x squared minus 4x minus 7. So are these two things equal? When I multiply the length times the width, and then I add up all the pieces inside, are those exactly equivalent? And the answer would be yes, they are. So here we are using the distributive property. We're multiplying everything together that we need to. All right, so these are exactly equivalent. They're from the same rectangle. And you could also do this by distributing if you wanted to. So you set your problem back up as x plus 1 times 3x minus 7. And you have to make sure you distribute everything. So starting with x, you have to pass it out. And then you have to use your 1 and pass that out to everything. And your results will be the same. You will get the same exact answer. All right, now we get into our geometry. So first, the learning target is I can reflect polygons on a grid. So it says reflect or flip triangle ABC across the y-axis. Make sure we know which one is the y. We have to label the vertices of the new triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, and we should use a straight edge. Now, I can't use a straight edge on the smartboard, so I'm going to do my best, but make sure you're using a straight edge on the test or when you're practicing. So, if I'm flipping over the y-axis, I'm flipping over the vertical line. So I'm just going to count boxes and make sure they're an even amount away from the y-axis on the left side, just like they are on the right. So C prime is 1 away. If I count 1, 2, 3, 4, A prime is 4 away, just in the opposite direction. So looking at B, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So I'm going to go 5 in the opposite direction and label that B prime. And connect likewise. So that is a reflection over the y-axis. And that's it. But I labeled all my points. I made sure to show some work by showing how many I'm counting. I labeled my y-axis. I labeled all my vertices. Make sure there's that prime symbol there. But that's it. Now we have a rotation. Rotation seems to be the hardest. Now you can memorize the rules if you want to. I don't do it that way. I rotate my paper. So if we look, I'm going 90 degrees counterclockwise, so that's to the left, and we're going about the origin, so the point 0, 0 right there in the middle. And again, I have to label my vertices after I rotate this, and they want it with double primes. All right, and make sure you're using a straight edge. So here we go. I am going to turn my graph 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's one turn to the left. All right, so we've turned one to the left. And now I'm going to act like this is a regular graph. This is where my rotation should end up. So I'm going to label all my points as if they're in the right spot right now. I'm going to ignore the numbers that are on the x and y axis because I know that when I go left, that means it's negative, or when I go down, that's negative, or when I go right or up, that's a positive number. So I'm going to go ahead and list them. So starting with A double prime, I go left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up, 1, 2, 3, 4. So left 4 boxes, but actually, so yes, so what I'm going to do is left 4, and then I went up 4 as well. All right, now I'm going to go on to B double prime. I go left 3 boxes and up 5 boxes. So left 3, up 5. And last but not least, for C, I go left 1, up 1. So C double prime is going to be left 1, up 1. All right, so now I just get to turn my paper back to normal. All right, so it's the right way. And starting at the origin, I'm going to go plot all these points. So A double prime is left 4 boxes, up 4 boxes. So A double prime. B double prime is left 3 boxes and then up 5 boxes. So that's B double prime. And C double prime is left 1 box, up 1 box, and we are done. We connect our points and we have rotated this triangle 90 degrees counterclockwise. So if you need some extra practice, you could go 90 degrees clockwise, you could try 180 degrees, you could try 270 degrees, but the general procedure is the same. You turn your paper, you write down the new points, and you turn it back and plot them. One more to do, and we have a translation. So a translation is a slide. So we want to make vertex A have the coordinates 3, -6. So that is not our translation rule. That is our new A coordinate. So that's the coordinate of A triple prime. So A triple prime is -3, 6. So I'm going to go plot that to start with. -3, -6 is right here. So that is that is A triple prime. So now I need to figure out how I moved to finish moving the rest of my points. So to go from A, I went left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and half a box. So 5.5 boxes, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes. So I went left 5.5 boxes and then down 7 boxes. So I'm going to move the rest of my points in the same way. So part B, I go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 boxes, and down, what did we say, 7? So there's my new B point, so B triple prime. And last but not least, C. So we go left 5.5 boxes and down 7. So here we go. And we end up, sorry, this one is actually not even on the graph. I didn't make the graph big enough. So then I go back and I connect my points. So I had to estimate for C triple prime, but that's okay. On the test, it'll be on the graph, so don't worry. All right, and that's it. You have completed the Chapter 3 test review. I hope this helped. Good luck and study hard.